Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Ishavasya Upanishad will be touching upon the Shloka number 5 and 6. Right in the beginning, and we must have mentioned a couple of times, that any and pretty much all kind of Upanishad, and also, if I may put it, spiritual knowledge, we may not have to study with our logical mind. And if at all we do go for logical mind, I would suggest internal logic. So where the common social logic does not work. When we apply the everyday's logic, we will not get an answer, but our mind will be under turmoil or under rest. And it will be a matter of proving one's superiority versus the other. And also that is led to the point that I know that I know. When I say internal logic, where the common logic does not apply, it will bring you to such a calmness, such a serenity, and such a state of gratitude that itself will lead you to introvertness, and if I may use the word, involution, instead of the word evolution or extrolution, involution. Most of the words, I think, in Shloka number 5 and Shloka number 6 appear to be very contradicting. Let us first study the Shloka and then we'll discuss, we'll request Supreme to help us understand. Now, now coming to the Shloka, Tadejati tannejati taddure tadantvike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bhayata. Let us hear from some scholar how they sing.
Tadejati tannejati taddure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bhahyataha.
And I would suggest, if you, those of you know Sanskrit or Devanagari, here is with the Sandhi Visarga, meaning the words are separated. In the upper one, it is the Shloka where some words are combined together to pronounce it better. So here, tat ejati, tat na ejati. Even if you don't remember anything in Sanskrit, but here they say ejati and here na ejati. Na means not. All right. Let us see the word by word translation. So tat means that. Ejati means moves. Na means not. And so here when it says tat ejati, that moves. Tat na ejati, that does not move. So we think, what is he talking about? Right in the first line, he says it moves and doesn't move. So we'll talk about it. And as I mentioned earlier, many a time it looks like, with a common understanding, a gay, unknowable. When the rishis were saying, or the scholars were saying unknowable, that means with a common logic. And then the word anta, antaha, inside, asya, this or is, sarvasya, in all, and bhayata, external or outside. So he says it's inside and also in the outside. And now let's see how my guru translates this. It moves and does not move. It is near and far. It is inside everything and outside of everything. Having seen or heard this shloka, now let me also take the next look. No, that is, yeah. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmana eva anupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate.
Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate.
Now, let us see word by word here. One who, or this and that, one who, or he who. Astu exists, sarvani, in all. Bhutani, bhuta means to be, and being, bhutani. Atmani, in the self. Eva, also. Anupashyati, sees. Sarva, all. Bhuteshu, in every being, every manifestation. Cha, and. Atmanam, in all self. Tato, because of or due to. Na, not. Vijugupsate, feels no hatred. Now, that part, let's see first the translation. He who constantly sees all being in the higher self, or in the spiritual consciousness does neither shrink nor does he hate. Now understand here, commonly when he's talking about higher self or spiritual consciousness, commonly people may call it God, all right? But here we'll refer to this because throughout Ishavasya Upanishad and other Upanishads, we are talking about Nirguna, Nirakar. Nirguna with any attributes and Nirakar, shapeless, or basically abstract reality. Now, let me come out from here and we talk about it. As I explained you earlier, common logic will not work. And in other spiritual discussions sometime, we talk about, and I have also talked many a times, but long time back, about the contents and the container. Now, if you're looking at a box is a container. But anytime you order something, we all are interested in what the contents, what is inside the box. And afterwards, the container, the box, we throw away. In reality, in other words, if we pertain this to our body, even though we identify with the body, but we know the true identity is our true self, our spirit, our Atma, our consciousness. But looking at the comparison of content and the container, we think that this is the container. Our body is a container, and somewhere inside it will be the content. But mind you, we are studying all pervading with a limited example of an object. What is the object? Container and content both are object, because those two, or those, you are not. And that's why the container and content, even that logic is not applicable. But now let's understand a little bit, modifying the content and the container. Content and the container. When you look at the heart per se, heart, you can take it out. Don't try. Cardiologists sometimes during bypass or so do take out the heart. And at that time it's an object, understand. But is the heart really a content? Container, object? Because heart has every bitty tiny cells, and those cells have a mind of its own, and each one of them is functioning as an individual as well as collectively. I mean, all cells staying together and working as one unit. Now, so the heart, lungs, kidney, mouth, blood, all this, they are separate, but they all work together. And remember, every cell has a consciousness of its own. We say cell has it, so still we think cell is a container And the content is the consciousness. But mind you, the sheer existence of the cell is because of the consciousness. And now the cells are so tiny, so microscopic. So you know that the whole heart, with one argument you can say, that whole heart is consciousness. And at the same time, whole heart is a container. So in taking that as an example, you can say that it is inside and it is outside. Now, in the Shloka number 5, it says it moves and it does not move. Every cell, even though that do not move, but heart moves, pumps. So it appears that every cell is moving. But the content inside does not move. Meaning, the consciousness is all pervading. And when we say every cell has a consciousness, so don't think that heart has one consciousness, lung has another consciousness. The consciousness as a whole. And even if you take just the functionality of every single cell, then you know that it moves and it does not move. Let's take another example, that we are sitting here right now, and immediately a thought came, and you want to see what is happening in Kailash, the top of the mountain. And how many miles is from here to Kailash? At least 10,000 miles. And where are you? You are here. But the cell or the self or the consciousness that powers your mind, your perceptive senses, so that in the spur of the moment you reach to the peak of the mountain, Himalaya, 10,000 miles away. And you think 10,000 is a little too much? Then let's go to the moon. Let's go to the sun. Let's go and fathom any galaxy. You are just sitting here. Even physically, you cannot see you moving. So, the consciousness, tat te jati, it moves, and na ejati, it does not move. And sometimes we wonder, why does he even have to explain all this thing? The rishis, why do they have to? They are not also explaining. It is the self, the consciousness itself, the Isha itself is making some spiritual seeker and ignorant person like me to get some feeling that the true reality is beyond your perception, beyond your eyes could see, beyond your ears can hear. Tongue can speak, nose can smell, and skin can feel. Because it is not the object, it itself is you. So you're looking for yourself with, I will call, computerized knowledge or Googleized knowledge. And sometimes people go and say, oh, you're going to study Ishavasya? Let me go to Google and find out what is it. And the first thing you read, it moves and it does not move. It is inside and it is outside. What shall we think? It's all rubbish. How could it be? In the first two words it says it's inside. And the following two words it says it's outside. What? But that's why subject, consciousness, spirit, Atma cannot be studied with our senses. Your ears cannot hear that. We're trying our best to utilize the language and understanding it, but the self cannot be described. Moment you give the description that we have studied earlier, moment you describe something, that means you use some name, that means you use some word, nama. And as soon as you have given nam means it is other than you. Because that's the only way language can describe only object. Understand that. As a result, we get confused all the time. As I mentioned earlier, with a common day-to-day logical understanding, for a while you may feel that, oh, okay, I think I understood. But the pattern, the waves will be spinning in your head. Once we'll understand, or if this knowledge will be revealed to us, Ishavasya idam sarvam. You just even contemplate on a couple of minutes or not, and your eyelid will drop. Eyelid will drop, your mind will feel so serene, because at that time your inside internal reality lets you experience that there are no two realities. There's not a reality outside of you and the reality inside of you. That is, you are inside and you are outside. And really speaking, there is no inside and there is no outside. But the inside and outside, those words even come with our perception of objective world. So often we have to convince ourselves and remind ourselves, I am not the body and I am also not the mind. That we tried to practice yesterday during our yoga class. At that time, perhaps we might not have realized that to study today's two shloka, that will be useful. Because as soon as you say, I am not the body, so you don't think of this container. And I'm also not the mind, then that way you also come to know that the content in this container is also not you. enhanced, but still you exist. So you are in and you are outside. What a beautiful blessing that our rishis have given us, so that it subsides your external, or the, I will call it, social logic, and it takes you beyond the logic. And when it goes beyond the logic, and you get so absorbed in it, by in it, that your eyes close. You don't close the eyes, they get shut. Even though your ears are open, but ears do not want to open, learn or open and hear something. So does the tongue, so does the nose, and so does the skin. When all the external stimuli or the information stop coming in, because those switches of those, all the five instruments have been turned off. As a result, all that information going to your mind is also turned off. Mind reaches to its origin, which is silence. And how often we have studied the silence is love. Silence is compassion, karuna. Silence is sat, truth. And why truth? Because it's not subjected to time, nor it is subjected to space. It is inside and outside. Had it been restricted by the space or time, then oneness would not have been experienced. And once the oneness is not experienced, duality will be experienced. Whenever there is duality, there is comparison. And the comparison, most of the time, it brings out superiority and inferiority. As soon as the superiority and the inferiority is brought about, monkey mind, turmoil, agitations, vritti, pattern, disturbance, that happens. Once the disturbance happens, hatred can happen too. Because we all the time think we are right and everybody else is wrong and they do not understand me. But as soon as the oneness is realized, as soon as the peace is realized, as soon as love is experienced, love knows no comparison. Love needs no superiority or inferiority. Love knows no absence of compassion. And when I say absence of compassion, if you have love, or if you are love, then what is the comparison? Because everything is love. And genuine experience of true love, your whole attitude towards all beings is full of compassion, full of love. You enjoy every bit of it. And in the last Monday class, we were studying about the word apurnata, insufficiency. Once you experience love, how could there be comparison? When you look at the flower of rose just exhibits the fragrance, whether there is butterfly or honeybee or some human being to smell that fragrance or not. But it just continuously emits the fragrance. Why? Because it's the love, and love knows only one characteristic, radiance. It radiates, whether there is lover or not, does not care. So as soon as you come to realize that there is no internal, there is no external, there is no up, there is no down, there is no movement and there is movement. And that kind of experience leads us to involution. We dive inward. And when we talk about diving inward, there is no swimming pool that you dive in. And many times if somebody asks, where is God or consciousness or spirit, we say, in my heart. With these two slokas, would we dare saying that it's in your heart? Would you dare saying that it is not somewhere else? There is no else. Everything is this. That's why it says, Ishavasya idam sarvam idam, this all. That too, again, the words need to be used, that's why. But it does not mean these and that. I understand in English we use the word this for nearer thing and that for farther thing. So, but the Shloka says, it is near and it is far. But those words for us, otherwise, it is everywhere. And once you use even the word everywhere, that also indicates limitation. And to have that clarity of understanding, the Shanti part, Purnamadaha Purnamidam, this is Purnam, that is Purnam. Everything is totality, everything is fullness. And when everything is, what you can take out and what you cannot take out. Nothing needs to be taken in and nothing needs to be. And then it says, Purnameva Vasishyate. Once you take out the totality, totality remains. And the word totality itself is sufficient enough. And once you experience the vibration of Om, the most fundamental sound, and why is it called fundamental? Because when you say Om, there is no vocal cord use, there is no tongue use, and the adjunctment of the tongue to different parts of the body. Still you can sound it. And all sounds originate from this. So one saint has said, if you do not understand Om itself, then you need to go for the Shanti part. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avishashyate. That is Shanti part. If you do not understand Om. If you do not understand even the Shanti part, then you go through the first Shloka of Ishavasya. If you still cannot understand, then you go to entire Upanishad of Ishavasya. And still if you cannot understand, then you go to 108 Upanishad. And when that does not understand, let your karmic load expire and let's continuously be born and experience the misery and keep blaming so-called God or anybody else. It is not a matter of blaming anybody. And you would notice those who are true lovers, there's no comparison. There's no complaint. We all go through those lovely stages. When a child is kicking the mother, have you ever seen any mother complaining that she is or he is kicking me? The child can bite the mother, and sometimes even the pain is experienced. But because of the trueness of love, have you ever seen mother complaining? And even if you cut the flower, as flower ever said, I will not emit the fragrance. And not only this, you subject it to heavy heat, rain, or anything. Has the flower ever said, I will not emit the fragrance? Not even that. But if you crush it to any level, still it will keep on emitting fragrance. That's why there's a place for the flower in the worship, in the sadhana, but that is a separate matter. When I say sadhana in spirit, don't think that you keep cutting the flowers and putting it. If you genuinely observe and enjoy and appreciate a beautiful flower on the head of a branch, you will notice what a beauty it is, what an existence it is, what is the vision or the darshana of Isha. So dear friends, understand and appreciate, it moves and it does not move. It is near and it is far. It is inside and it is outside. It is inside all, and it is also outside all. And once when that oneness is realized, there is no hatred. There's no disliking ever. And when I say there's no, not I, Shastra says that there's no disliking. Hatred is too heavier a word. First comes the disagreement, then comes the dislike, and then maybe coming hatred. So the hatred word, and I cannot say love is the absence of hatred, but the absence of hatred, I mean the presence of hatred cannot exist once when you realize the love. Have you ever seen Rose crying that you are crushing me? Have you ever seen a mother crying or complaining that my child is kicking me? Child kicks it for 9 months and even thereafter. And some heartless people, they kick the parents out in their old age. This is what people do when they do not realize Ishavasya idam sarvam. And for that you do not have to go anywhere. Keep on studying every cell. Keep on studying any major component. Keep on looking at your lungs, your heart, your respiration. And then you come to realize it is everywhere. Let us go back to Buddha's Shloka once again. And now it will make sense. And not only make sense, it's so easy now to understand that it moves and doesn't move. It is far and it is near. It is inside and it is outside. Everything is love. And hence, there is no hatred. Let us take this just once more. Just read the translation of this Shloka number 6. It says, it moves and it doesn't move. It is near and it is far. It's inside everything and outside of everything. And when just even to explain you what is inside and what is outside of everything, it is not the exact example, but still I take an example that you take a plastic cup, and in the plastic cup you try to experience what is inside. People says nothing. Okay, nothing. But if you can conceivably understand that there is air in it, now the air is inside and the air is outside. If you crush the cup, plastic cup, then you ask yourself, where did the inside air go? So there is no inside. When I say no inside, means it is the same air which is inside and outside. But just because of the boundary of the cup, we say it is inside and we say it is outside. Also because of the boundary of our body, we say my Atma and your Atma, myself and yourself. But there is nothing like your Atma and my Atma. So at least, dear friends who are listening today, and if any of your nearer or relative friends leave this world, don't say, may his soul rest in peace, because it is not his soul or your soul. You may have nothing to say. Internally, just keep on chanting Ishavasya idam sarvam. Tatte jati na tatte jati tat dure na tat u anantike tat antaha asya sarvasya tat u sarvasya asya bahyata. Now we understand what the fifth sloka means. And let us see what the sixth sloka refers to. Yastu sarvani bhutani. He who constantly sees all being, sarvani, in the higher self, meaning all Ishvara is pervading. And when you see each and every one of them, and each and every one of them, they exist because of the consciousness, the spirit. As soon as the spirit is not manifested in that body, then we treat the body to be useless. And that's the time we come to realize that it was not that separate piece. It was like the air inside the cup. As soon as the cup is crushed, all air, and hence the last word, vijugupsate. There should be no shrinkage nor the hatred. No shrinkage meaning not closeness, not love to be experienced, no hatred to be experienced. And when I say love, liking, understand that word. Otherwise the love exists, and that's the only thing, and the love, consciousness, spirit, whatever you call it. Sarva bhutesu cha atmanam tato na vijugupsate. When you realize, and this sloka need to be contemplated, and whatever we practiced yesterday, in the state of silence, if we practice and remind ourselves. And when it really penetrates through us that I am not this body, I meaning spirit, and I'm not this mind, because it is the mind which will be taking care of your ego, your memory, and the body for its beauty, you can call it, or the different functionality. So that you are not. And once you are not that, you will not know who you are, because there is Advaita, there is non-duality. You cannot say that the air inside the cup is same as the air outside the cup. Because you are separating between air and the cup, inside the cup and outside the cup. But the time when you realize even the cup exists because of the space, not the space, but because of Isha. So from that perspective point, you can say there is no object. And from that perspective point, you can say everything is nothing but consciousness. Everything is nothing but consciousness. So in that light, you would have heard there is nothing like a God. A God. And at that time, when there is nothing like a God, but the second most powerful statement is, there is nothing but God. What is God? The self, the spirit. One that moves and doesn't move. One which is outside and which is inside. Understand and appreciate the glory of this Upanishad. And that tells you what your inner logic is. In the external logical world, we call it a paradox. It is and it is not. So sometimes we say if it is or it is not, why don't you tell us? Open your mouth and tell us. So in that light, dear friends, do not ever ask any of your gurus that are you realized or not. How would one could ever see, because the word get absent from their dictionary. That also, so he cannot or she cannot say anything. Only thing he will do, he will be as ever in the state of silence, and you see the love radiating from his face. And at that time, ignorant person like me will say, he is not saying anything. That means he is not realized. We apply the logic. And if somebody else ever says that this person is realized, and if our mind says that he or she is not, then they say, how do you know he is realized? So do not ever get into that kind of discussion. It will be my humble request as a friend of yours. And go towards and disregard this kind of group and discussion, and go towards more and more of silence. Silence, as was mentioned, is not to talk, but not having anything to talk. Because even if you ask the person this kind of question, are you realized or not? He or she will feel compassionate, saying that, my dear, I love you, what can I say? I have no words to say. That too they will not say. But his radiance of compassion, karuna, will be the only thing they can do. Not they can do, it will be done. And that is reality, that is freedom. Dear friend, I so much appreciate you allow me to speak and express my joy. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.